5 names still move through airports and safe houses to tune. The 5 most wanted Africans, with a bounty of $1 million and more in 2025, as FBI and Interpol red notices tighten the net. This ranking uses court records, Interpol notices, UNODC, Transparency International Index, IMF datasets, STAR, and ICIJ. Now for the evidence. Our expose narrator takes you through the records, filings, asset trails, and verified documents. Thank you, Dr. Komla. Today, we have an extraordinary expose, Kanzize. A bounty of over $1 million marks them as a true menace. This time, the hunter has become the hunted. And here at African Insider, we will let the world know every bit of it.
Disclaimer. This ranking is not just a list. It is a reminder that fraud, crimes, trafficking, and organized crime do not end in wealth. They end in capture, extradition, and broken dreams. The top 5 on the list is Michael Olarinomi, Nigeria, conspiracy to commit wire fraud. Case spotlight. Romance lure scripts met business email compromise. Losses stacked up in the Midwest and beyond. The Omaha investigation mapped mule accounts to a Nigerian coordinator. Olarinomi's name rose as the thread that tied victims' heartbreak to corporate inbox theft. Identity. He is a Nigerian, born in 1983. The jurisdiction was Nigeria. Fugitive under FBI notice. Snapshot. Indicators and status. Blended BEC and romance fraud. Multi-state victimization. Layered receivers and repeat beneficiary accounts. Ongoing FBI visibility signals active pursuit and organized network indicators. Investigative detail. Indicted on 13th November 2019 in the District of Nebraska. Warrant issued 14th November 2019. The broader cell is tied to more than $6 million in BEC losses to U.S. firms and over $1 million tied to romance fraud proceeds. Co-referenced names on FBI materials include Richard Uzuzu and Nnamdi Orson Benson in the same Nebraska-rooted conspiracy stream. Network map. Upstream, spoofed vendor threads and romance lure narratives seeded by recruiters. Midstream, account suppliers and mule handlers moving deposits within hours. Downstream, cash-out specialists with pre-staged beneficiary accounts and remitter scripts for branch tellers. Named anchors. Uzuzu as principal orchestrator, Benson as accounts conduit, and Olarinomi as romance fraud channeling and account movement. Last seen, travel note. Public records place him in Nigeria post-indictment. No verified outbound airport record is public. No confirmed entries on international flight manifests have been released. Mission recap. Charges filed in November 2019, still at large. If convicted on conspiracy to commit wire fraud, he faces up to 20 years in U.S. federal prison with additional penalties possible for identity-related counts. National context. Lagos and regional hubs enable rapid account cycling. Real-time banking holds and cross-border treaties have improved clawback, but recruiter pipelines keep liquidity moving. Gap clarifier. No arrest or extradition reported. Asset recovery figures for this slice remain incomplete at the victim level. Bounty and rewards. A $1 million bounty offer. Tips are solicited through FBI channels. The top 4 on the list is Richard Uzuzu, Nigeria, wire fraud and conspiracy to commit wire fraud. Case spotlight. Vendor email hijacks, false invoices, the same beneficiary accounts again and again. As agents laid out the pattern, Uzuzu appeared as the central orchestrator in a scheme that drained mid-sized firms, while romance victims unknowingly fed the pipeline. Identity. He is a Nigerian born in 1983. The jurisdiction was Nigeria. Fugitive under FBI notice. Snapshot, indicators and status. 70-plus victim businesses in the Nebraska investigation stream. Fast split and vanish transfers. Coordinated withdrawals and mule recruitment show a hardened organization. Investigative detail. Indicted on 18th October 2016 in the District of Nebraska. Warrant issued 19th October 2016. Aggregate losses cited exceed $6 million. Co-reference conspirators on FBI materials include Nnamdi Orson Benson and Michael Olarinomi in the same Nebraska-rooted conspiracy stream. Network map. Upstream, spoofed vendor threads and romance lure narratives seeded by recruiters. Midstream, invoice forgers and transaction routing coordinators scheduling urgent wires. Downstream, cash-out teams with pre-staged beneficiary accounts and remitter scripts for branch tellers. Named anchors, Uzuzu as principal orchestrator, Benson as accounts conduit, and Olarinomi as romance fraud feeder channel. Last seen, travel note, listed as believed to be in Nigeria. No public confirmation of air or land border crossings since the warrant date. Mission recap, filed October 2016, still wanted. If convicted on wire fraud and conspiracy counts, he faces up to 20 years per count under U.S. statute, with restitution and forfeiture exposure. National context, BEC thrives on email trust and invoice routine. U.S. and Nigeria cooperation, attaché-work, and private sector fraud ops have raised interception rates, but laundering chains adapt quickly. Gap clarifier, no arrest or extradition executed. Asset recovery totals are not fully disaggregated in public filings. Bounty and rewards, a $1 million reward offer. Information is solicited through FBI channels. A third name completes this BEC triangle, and the bounties rise after that. The top 3 on the list is Antonio Indjai, Guinea-Bissau, narcotics trafficking and providing material support to a foreign terrorist organization. Case Spotlight. A 2012 to 2013 sting exposed a weapons for cocaine pipeline. U.S. agents posing as FARC intermediaries recorded the deal terms. The former Guinea-Bissau army chief emerged as the fixer who could move drugs and arms through a state security umbrella. Identity. He is Bissau-Guinean, born in 1955. The jurisdiction was Guinea-Bissau. Fugitive under a U.S. indictment with Interpol cooperation channels. Snapshot, indicators and status. A senior military figure with access to airfields, ports, and protection networks, alleged to broker cocaine transshipments and surface-to-air missiles for a foreign terrorist group, high risk of state-embedded facilitation. Investigative detail. U.S. charges announced in April 2013 include narcotics trafficking, material support to a foreign terrorist organization, and related conspiracies. The U.S. escalated to a public reward offer in August 2021 under the Narcotics Rewards Program. Network map. Upstream, Latin American cocaine suppliers seeking West African corridors. Midstream, military and political patrons enabling storage, armed escorts, and airlift. Downstream, Sahel and Atlantic routes into Europe with cash returns laundered via trade fronts and couriers. Last seen or travel note. Open source listings place him inside Guinea-Bissau post-2014. Movement assessed overland with security details. No verified commercial flight records are public. Mission recap. Indictment unsealed in 2013 in the Southern District of New York. Reward designation in 2021. If convicted on narco-terror and trafficking counts in a U.S. court, exposure runs to decades to life in prison, plus forfeiture. National context. Guinea-Bissau's archipelago and weak controls created a cocaine gateway. Military patronage networks blur lines between state and smuggling, complicating arrests and extraditions. Gap clarifier. No arrest, no extradition execution. Asset seizures tied directly to his network are not fully public. Bounty and rewards. Up to $5 million for information leading to his arrest and conviction under the U.S. Narcotics Rewards Program, active as of 2025. One name remains, and its reward sits at the very top. The top 2 on the list is Ahmed Diriye, also known as Abu Ubaida, Somalia, terrorism. Case Spotlight. He rose to lead al-Shabaab after 2014. Under his watch, the group kept taxing businesses, moving cash, and staging cross-border attacks. Identity. He is Somali. Year of birth not publicly confirmed. The jurisdiction was Somalia. Fugitive under a U.S. designation and Interpol interest. Snapshot. Indicators and status. Assessed Emir since 2014. Commands the Omniat Security Wing and provincial cells. Revenue from forced levies, checkpoints, and facilitators. High international priority. Investigative detail. Designated by U.S. authorities, the reward escalated in 2022 to target him and the group's finances. Notices focus on his role and the money architecture that sustains operations. Network map. Top line, Diriye and Shura deputies. Inner core, Mahad Karate and senior operators. Financial arteries, taxation nodes, money service operators, and business levies. Last seen or travel note. Area of operation is southern Somalia. Movement is assessed overland with layered security. No verified commercial air travel. Mission recap. Continuous sanctions and listings since 2014. Reward notices refreshed in 2022. If prosecuted for extraterritorial terrorism causing U.S. deaths, he faces life imprisonment. National context. Southern corridors and coastal inlets aid clandestine finance and movement. Regional partners have improved interceptions, but leadership remains mobile. Gap clarifier. No confirmed arrest. Command and finance links are only partly visible in open sources. Bounty and rewards. Up to $10 million for information on Diriye, plus up to $10 million for tips that disrupt Al-Shabaab's finances. Cut the cash lines, and the Emir's shadow shortens. The top one on the list is Mahad Muhammad Ali, also known as Mahad Karate, Somalia. Terrorism. Case spotlight. A longtime Al-Shabaab commander who rose from Omniat operations to senior leadership. Under his hand, the network taxed businesses, moved cash through couriers and hawala channels, and staged complex raids in Kenya and Somalia. Identity. He is Somali, born in the 1970s, with his last known jurisdiction being Somalia. Fugitive under U.S. designation and United Nations sanctions. Snapshot. Indicators and status. Senior planner with command over Omniat cells. Revenues from forced levies and security taxes. High priority target under Allied counter-terror tasking. Investigative detail. Designated by U.S. authorities in 2015 and listed under United Nations sanctions thereafter. Public reward notices were refreshed in 2022 to emphasize both his role and the group's financing nodes. Network map. Top line, karate coordinating with the Emir's Shura. Inner core, finance handlers and Omniat chiefs. Financial arteries, rural tax points, business levies, and money service operators moving funds to logistics hubs and external facilitators. Last seen or travel note. Area of operation assessed in southern Somalia, including the Juba region. Movement is believed to be overland with layered security. No verified commercial air travel is reported in open sources. Mission recap. Sustained designations and sanctions since 2015, reward posture elevated in 2022. If prosecuted for extraterritorial terrorism causing deaths, exposure runs to life imprisonment under U.S. law. National context. Forest corridors and coastal inlets complicate surveillance. Regional partners improved interdictions, but leadership remains mobile and cash flows resilient. Gap clarifier. No confirmed arrest. Money handlers and external facilitators remain only partly mapped in public. Bounty and rewards. Up to $10 million for information on Mahad Karate. active as of 2025 under the U.S. Rewards for Justice program. When money dries up, leadership falls within reach. These names prove one thing: fraud, trafficking, and organized crime end not in wealth, but in records, sanctions, warrants, and capture. Stay analytical. Report tips only to lawful channels. Like this video and subscribe so you never miss the next revelation. Now tell us in the comments, which case shocked you the most, and why do you think so many fugitives still slip through borders? Your voice forces accountability, and your opinion keeps the records alive.